Hey there guys, this is Adrie back, your wonderful cat girl VTuber who loves the color pink and loves Final Fantasy XIV. And I have been watching the Final Fantasy XIV Las Vegas 2023 Fan Festival all day today. So we have seen the keynote, opening ceremonies, and a realm revisited, and now this is going to be beginning from the end, the Annotated Endwalker. Okay, and the Annotated Endwalker is 2 hours long. So, and then later tonight, the last panel of the night is going to be Glamour to Life Cosplay Walk. Not sure if I'm going to watch that or not. I probably will. We'll see how I feel. But yo, let's go! Annotated Endwalker. Oh, good God. How? 2 hours is the annotated version. A lot of crap happens in Endwalker. It's like the biggest expansion. There's so many cutscenes. So much dialogue. How are they going to squish this into 2 hours?
FanFest, how are you feeling?
Yay!
Good, I need that energy, please. I've got like 4 hours of sleep last night, but we're all hanging in there. Well, as you may know, it's time for our dev panel.
Yay,
Beginning from
devs!
the end, the Annotated Endwalker. As I have mentioned several times before, there are major spoilers for the Endwalker expansion story. So please keep that in mind. Cover your ears.
You should not be here if you care.
With that out of the way, please help me welcome to the stage our 4 panelists. Please help me welcome Naoki Yoshida, Natsuko Ishikawa, Kate Swanar, and Aimi Tokitake.
Yay! Love the devs! Love the devs! Oh, look, there's the Evo chairs from the sponsor. Those look really comfy. I want one, but aren't they like $600 or something? I could definitely use an upgrade, I'm not gonna lie. My chair is really, it's better than what I used to have, but it's not amazing.
All right, enjoy the show.
Enjoy the show, let's go! La 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 la.
さあ、
Let's see.
そもそもね、物理開催のファンフェスが久しぶりなので、こうやってものすごいたくさんのプレイヤーの皆さんの前で開発パネルやるのも久しぶりなので、ぜひ大いに盛り上がってください。
Yeah, I think it's been a while since we did an actual physical fan festival and doing this development panel in front of all of you guys. I really hope that we enjoy and get excited about things. Woo!
今マットからもありましたけど、ちょっと注意点です。
So as Matt mentioned, we do have one caveat to make.
エンドウォーカーまで、パッチ 6.0 までのめちゃくちゃでかいスポイラー出まくるので。
So just to reiterate, we will have heavy spoilers from everything up to Endwalker 6.0.
まだ 6.0 メインストーリー終わってない人は目と耳をこう閉じて
So if you haven't finished all the way up to the end of 6.0 Endwalker main scenario quest, you may have to cover your ears and close your eyes.
で
Why are you
配信をご覧の
there?
皆さんもぜひご注意ください。
If you haven't played
Same
Endwalker,
warning
why are you
goes
in that
to those
room?
watching us on the live stream.
そしてですね、まあ先に一人ずつ自己紹介をしてもらいましょうか。
Okay, so let's do a quick round of introductions first.
All right, I'll start. Hello, I'm Kate Swinar. I am the English localization lead, and today I will be translating for Ishikawa-san.
Yay!
Hello everyone, my name is Natsuko Ishikawa. Thank you for coming today.
Hello again, this is Aimi. I'll be helping translate for Yoshida-san here.
改めましてプロデューサー兼ディレクターの吉田です。よろしくお願いします。
Oh, once again, thanks for having me, our producer and director of Final Fantasy XIV, Naoki Yoshida here.
じゃあ早速その中身に入る前にちょっとどんなパネルなのかというのだけ簡単に説明しちゃってもいいかしら。
はい、お願いします。
So before we jump into the actual meat of the panel session, I'd like to just give you an overview of what we want to talk about today.
Please do.
今回その 6.0 のストーリーを振り返りつつ、どちらかというと本当に細かくストーリーってどう作られていくのか、それに伴って例えば英語側のこう翻訳っていうのはどう組み立てていくのかで、注釈っていう細かい表現を交えながら、実際こうストーリーのライティングしてみたいなとか、どう物語って作られていくんだろうみたいなところを注目してご覧いただけるパネルになるかなと思ってます。
So of course we'll be looking back at the story up to 6.0, and we'll be digging deeper into how the story is being created, how it applies to the different English localization portions of it, how is it comprised, how is it built, and then we would look at the different annotations or the notes that are added to some of the scenario portions to see what the intent behind writing certain parts of the story is going to look like.
で今日メインはなっちゃん、石川夏子に話をしてってもらいますので、ぜひ応援してあげてください。
But of course, our main speaker here is going to be Natsuko, or Natchan, if you want to call her Natchan. So we'll take it away.
Natchan? Oh, such a cute name. Cute nickname.
じゃあ早速
Adorable.
なっちゃん、自己紹介がてら担当してきたストーリーとか軽く自己紹介しましょうか。
But yeah, let's start with what you have worked on first, Natchan.
いいですか。
はい、どうぞ。はい、ということで、改めましてシニアストーリーデザイナーの石川です。
As I mentioned, I am the senior story designer, Natsuko Ishikawa.
申請にあたって14チームの開発、14の開発チームに合流して、10周年ということな
Writer
の
and
で、
designer of many main and side quests since
14の
ARR.
シナリオの制作に携わっております。
Who did
So
she
I actually
kill?
joined the 14 team around the time of A Realm Reborn. So now that it is the game's 10th anniversary, it's actually been almost exactly 10 years for me.
大きなところありがとうございます。
Whose deaths are she responsible for?
ありがとうございます。Thank you. 大きなところで言うと、近年では漆黒のヴィランズと行月のフィナーレのメインシナリオを担当しました。
So just talking about the more major of my recent works, I did the main scenario for Shadowbringers and Endwalker.
楽しかったですか？
Oh, I have to thank her for Grahatia. I must thank her for Grahatia. She is now my favorite dev.
Thank you.
She is greater than Yoshi P.
で6.1 以降は、シニアストーリーデザイナーという肩書きになって、サブクエストを楽しく書きながらシナリオの監修やセクションをまたいだ、補佐を
First,
してい
what's
ま
the
す。
6 will include?
So since 6.1, when I got this title of senior story designer, my main responsibilities have been reviewing and editing the main scenario, as well as managing our writing section, but I'm also enjoying writing subquests at the same time.
So,
パッチ 6.5
Mega
でも
Beyond the
お客
Rift
様
and
取引
Eureka
など
Orthos. I did
いくつかの
like
サブクエ
Eureka
ストを直
Orthos
接
little
出展
quest.
し
I
て
thought
い
that
るん
was
ですけれ
good.
ども、6.5 については明日の PLL をお楽しみに。
You can see some of my work in patch 6.5 as well, such as the custom delivery quests. So please stay tuned to that PLL tomorrow.
Wait a
for more
minute.
info.
Oh no, another custom deliveries
簡
quest.
単に言うとあれですね、さらに出世をして書くだけじゃない仕事がいっぱい増えて、実際稼働時間はあんまり減らないっていう感じですね。
So simply put, because you have advanced in the ranks, not only are you writing, but you have other responsibilities now. So that means you're not doing as much writing, but you're still working just as many hours, right?
後輩たちが非常に頑張ってるんで、一生懸命背中を押してます。
I mean, my team members are also working really hard, so I'm doing my best to support them.
Oh, what a
じ
good
ゃあ
leader.
早速内容いってみましょうか。
はい。
Right,
I need to
let's
stop
get into it.
drinking. I need to stop
さ
drinking the
て
Diet Coke.
皆
This
さん
is going to be a long
はポラ
panel.
ル大陸の方に行ってるんじゃないかと思うんですけども、
Beginning from the end, the Annotated Endwalker.
物語を振り返っていきたいと思います。
So soon you will all be venturing to Tural, but before that, I thought we'd take a look back at what happened in Endwalker.
でこちらが表題なのですが、
So you might be wondering about this title we have here.
この注釈っていうのはどういうものなのか。
When I say annotated, what does that mean?
はい。でこちらがですね、私が普段使っているテキストエディター、レマルの画面です。
Right, so this is the text editor that I usually use.
地味ですよね。これ1日10時間とかこういうの眺めてるんですけど、
It's kind of like unexciting to look at, and I'm staring at this for 10 hours plus a day.
でちょっと小さくて見えないと思うんですけど、表示されているのは行月の序盤、ラビニンソスでトードの姿になってエレンビルを追跡するシーンのテキストです。
The text might be a little small for you to see, but the scene that is being shown right now is when the Scions are in Labyrinthos, and several of them have become toads who are pursuing
Ribbit,
Erendil.
ribbit.
で
Ribbit,
注
ribbit.
釈っていうのが、
And as for what the annotations are,
もう一回お願い。
あれ押したぞ。
あれ
もう一個言った方がいい。
はい、お願いします。はい、この部分ですね。
that's these red highlighted
Keto,
portions
keto?
here.
ここでは
So the
コードに
Japanese
なっている
is
アルフ
frog
ァ
is
ベ
keto,
ットが
keto.
大体どんな内容のことをケロケロしているのかを記載しています。
And in this case, these
That makes sense
annotations
for
are
the
telling
frog
us
from
what
Senryo.
Toad Alfino and Toad Alize are actually supposed to be saying.
でこういった
Annotations are notes for the translators, animators, etc. to ensure that we're all on the same
書き込んでいる
page.
情報を注釈と呼びます。
So what we call annotations are basically notes for the translation team, the animators, other people who need to know, so we can all understand the context of what's going on.
まあ実際その注釈ってまあ今なっちゃんが説明してくれたんですけど、まあ簡単に言うと、例えばまあなっちゃんはこうメインストーリーライターとして 6.0 メイン書いてますけど、単純にセリフだけを書いてるわけじゃなくて、例えばこのセリフは実はあのシェイクスピアのあの作品のあの一小節を引用したセリフですみたいな注意書きを翻訳者さんに伝えるために書いたりします。
So yeah, just to supplement here, when we talk about annotations, for example, of course, Natchan is writing the script as the main story writer for a particular section, but she's not just simply writing dialogue in her text. She would make notes about this section actually references Shakespeare's this piece of work, this section, this paragraph, this line, and kind of providing that sort of extra context.
まあそれ以外にも例えばこのセリフはこういう気持ちで話してますとか、このセリフは実は大昔のパッチ X.X とあの時のあのセリフを実はオマージュしてますみたいな、そういうこうメモ、作品を全体クオリティ高く作り上げるためのメモのことが注釈だと思ってもらえればいいかなと思います。
Additionally, whenever there's a certain piece of dialogue that we want to convey a certain emotion, we would note that as well. Or if we want to reference previous patches, if we wanted to reference like patch X.X, if this was this particular dialogue that happened in the past, and it's sort of paying homage to that, we would note that as well. So it's kind of the process of adding that sort of notes so that we can raise the quality of the dialogue and the writing that we provide.
まあ、いっぱいめちゃくちゃいっぱいあるんですけど、まあ、今回はそんな注釈の中からいくつかの内容をピックアップして、まあ、それで行月を振り返ってみようというパネルになっております。
So as you might guess, there are tons and tons of these annotations, but I've just picked a few today that I thought might be interesting to look at.
では早速、まずは旅の始まりのこのシーン
The
から。
journey begins.
All right, let us begin from the beginning.
Okay,
じゃあ
let's
動画をご覧いた
go.
だきましょう。
Okay, so we'll be taking a look at a video. Playback, please.
The ship.
And so you venture forth unto the unknown. A fate beyond the horizon that cannot be divined. A future undefined and in flux. In uncertain times, naught but the simplest words of wisdom will suffice. That which lives is destined to die. Love leads to loss. Every beginning has an end. Treasure every moment, every step of your descent. And there, in the depths where souls and stars rest, find your truth.
大きい画面で見るといいですね。
It's really nice to see it on a big screen.
はい、ということで以上オールドシャーリアンに向かう船の上で聞くことになるエメトセルクのナレーションでした。
So this was, of course, Emmett Selk's narration when you are on the boat to Old Charlian.
ここは最初にして行月の総括みたいな部
Oh,
分
and
な
so
の
you
で
venture forth into the unknown, a fate beyond the horizon that cannot be a future undefined and in flux.
Obviously, this is the very beginning of Endwalker. It's like your first taste. So pretty much all of these lines had some kind of note on them.
In certain times, not but some words of wisdom will suffice. That which lives destined to die, the lovely is lost, every beginning has an
But for
end.
now, I want to talk about the contents of the notes on these two lines in particular.
Treasure every moment, every step of your descent, and there in the depths where souls and stars rest, find your truth.
So on this second line here, I added a note about, all right, so Emmett Selk is narrating, but
Yeah, I love him
where
so.
is he? How is
Love
he doing
him.
that?
ウルティマトゥーレに到着した際のナレーションで気づいた方もいらっしゃると思うんですけれども、行月のナレーションはエメトセルクの正解からの実況中継です。
So you might have noticed this from the narration in Ultima Thule, but Emmett Selk is narrating from the Ethereal Sea.
だから彼
I remember when Endwalker came out, I was like, oh my god, it's Emmett Selk narrating. I was like, holy shit.
Which is why, of course, the only section where this formal narration by Emmett Selk doesn't happen is in Elpis.
だからただ覗き見てないとしても、正解で魂が現れたことによって
that does explain why it changed. Yeah, nope, didn't pick up on that.
At this point, when he's in the Ethereal Sea, obviously his soul has been cleansed of the fake memories implanted by Kairos, so he now remembers the truth of the final days.
No, sad. The ancients are so sad. I love them, but so
正解
sad.
からさこう実は昔エルピスで会ったことがあるっていうのを思い出したエメトセルクがこう見ながら彼の旅を追ってるのは間違いないんだけど、独り言なのかその隣にヒトロがいる前提で喋ってるのか、あれどっちのつもりで書いたの？ちなみに。
One thing I did want to ask you, Natchan, when Emmett Selk is kind of doing his narration in the Ethereal Sea, and when he recalls his memory from when he was in Elpis, like, and I was wondering, he's narrating this, but then is he kind of revisiting his sort of memories and kind of talking to himself, or is it implied that like Hitlodeus was like with him and he's kind of talking with him?
基本は演劇好きの彼がこう演劇好きなりにつらつらと自分の心の中で思っていることなんですけれども、
Well, for the most part, right, Emmett Selk is a very theatrical character, so in a theatrical fashion, he's sort of soliloquizing.
途中でヒトルダイウスがゾディアークの魂から解放されて合流してからは一緒に喋ってます。
But after the point that we sort of have Hithodeus reunite soul-wise, then they can sort of start speaking with one another.
解釈が合っててよかったです。
Oh, I'm glad my interpretation was correct.
はい、すいません。
Okay, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt there.
一回クリックお願いします。
はい。
で、また、日本語では私たちとなっていますが、これは同じく正解から育成を見守っているベーネスのことになります。
Right. So one of the ways that this situation is communicated in Japanese is that in Japanese it has the word we in it. And there was a note that this is referring to Vina, who is also in the Ethereal Sea. So you have this idea that they're both there together.
で、私が書いたその注釈を受けて、
Within the text, including we and the JP allude to Vinat, who possesses a similar advantage.
Of course, English did not use the we directly, but instead played on this note that we were given.
じゃあせっかくなんでケイトさん説明お願いしていいですか？
Can you explain that to us, Kate? Yes, I can.
Oh yeah, I guess he could talk to Vinat, because she could kind of like
so
pop
there are a
around.
couple things going on here.
That's kind of cool.
So for one thing, the we in Japanese is incorporated in this very nice way where you realize that he's saying like, oh, the we of us now, sort of like he's in this separate location, but we were afraid that if we stuck that into the English without like a really long explanation, it would sound like, yeah, we don't know what the future is. And it's like, are you my friend now? Like, what do you do? It would be very out of character for Emmett Selk. So instead, we took this thing that you are designed to understand the Vina is there later, but not at this point. At this point, you're just supposed to be like, huh, that's interesting. So what we did is we instead incorporated that nuance into the entirety of the speech. So, クリック一つお願いします。 Hi. So if you look at these middle lines here,
Oh.
you can see that some phrasings are a bit more Venat-like, and some of them will be echoed in her later lines. So when you look at this scene in retrospect, you can tell, okay, he's not only speaking for himself, he's speaking for all of the ancients in the Ethereal Sea.
はい、すみません、ありがとうございます。つまり続くセリフにベーネスっぽい言い回しを入れるっていう形で対応してくれているということですね。
はい。
では次にこのブロックの最後のセリフを見ていきましょう。
Now let's look at this very last line here.
ここは、週末の経緯も思い出しているエメとセルクの言葉なので、このセリフも2つの意味を持っています。
Given that this is the Emet Selk who knows the truth of the final days, this line actually has two meanings.
1つ目の意味は読んで字の通り。
The first is probably what you would immediately guess from reading it.
There in the depths where souls and stars rest, find your truth. The depths of the ethereal sea where Heidelin awaits her champion.
In the ethereal sea, Heidelin, who knows all, is waiting for you.
もう一つの意味、もう一つの星と命の沈む海底は絶望のうちに死んだ生命たち、星の残骸が漂う宇宙のことです。
But the other part of the depths here is actually at the very end of the universe, where all of the fallen civilizations and their stars are resting.
その果てに宇宙の果てに待っているのは先行く星々が終わることに希望を求めた
The universe where the Endsinger nests amongst the
And the
dead
truth that
stars.
awaits there is the truth of all of these stars that have fallen, the end of everything.
彼らの思いを引き受けてしまった終焉を歌う者が待っているぞということでした。
In other words, what awaits you there is the entity that has taken on all of these feelings from these dead worlds, the Endsinger.
だから今回のストーリー作っていく上ではやっぱり結末がしっかりある程度見えている状態、プロットが書き上がっている状態からテキストを起こしていくからこそ、その2つの意味をちゃんと一番最初のテキストに込められるっていうことだよね。
So yeah, because we are thinking about our story, we would build a plot line first before we actually do the deeper writing into it, and we already
Yep,
have
makes
this
sense.
end in sight, and we have decided on how it would pan out. We were able to know ahead of time to make sure that we are incorporating that sort of twofold meaning.
だから実際こういう
Makes a lot of
注釈っ
sense.
ていうのが
You
細
make
か
an
くあればある
outline,
ほど
then you make
お互
a
いの意思疎
basic
通が
outline,
で
more
きて
detailed
クオリティが上がるん
outline,
だけ
super
ど
detailed
注
outline,
釈
and
が
start
ないた
writing.
だの文章だけでやっぱり見てしまうと何のことを言ってるのかがやっぱりさっぱりわからないまま翻訳するっていうことになっちゃうのでとても重要ですねやっぱり。
And of course, with these notes, I think the more we provide context for the localization team, it clearly indicates the intention behind the writers, the main scenario writers, and it really kind of brushes up the quality. It makes it just so much better to have that sort of synergy. So, and plus, just looking at a set of like string of text, it makes it difficult to understand like where a person's coming from and what is being trying to be conveyed.
ちょうど今行月の始まりと終わりの話が出たのでつないじゃいますけど、行月は本当に前々から月に行くとは言ってたけど、まさか宇宙まで行くことになるとはっていう感じでしたね。
I mean, we're sort of talking about it now, going to the end of the universe and getting to this point, and it really it
Oh,
was
the
a long
Labyrinths.
journey.
Hello, lovelies.
そうですね毎回ね基調講演ファンフェスでこう話すときって大概ねここに行くぞって言ってから
How's
そ
your
の
little
先が
bunnies?
みたいなのが毎回多いじゃないアラミゴ行くぞって言って東も行ったりとか
Cute little bunnies.
For sure, and it's interesting because with every
Ooh.
keynote that we do, we would mention this is our next destination, this is where the next adventure is going to take place, and we actually have something else that's in store. For example, when we did Stormblood, we were talking about we're heading to Alamigo, but we actually were also going to the Hingashi realm as well.
だからレベル83ぐらいでもう月行ってるもんね。
And I mean, it was kind of early on, like level 83-ish, when we were already at the moon.
月行っちゃったらその先まで行くしかないって感じでしたもんね。
Yeah, the moon was
I mean,
not as
after
big
we
of a
went
part
to
as
the
I
moon, we
thought
were
it would
like,
be.
well, now we gotta go even further, I think.
この後どうするかねマルチバースだって言っとけば大丈夫かな。
I mean, I don't know what we would do beyond here. Maybe we can all explain it away as like a multiverse or something.
みんなだって嫌でしょ急に14がマルチバースになったら
No, then we'd cause problems for everybody in the audience if we just were like, oh, it's a multiverse.
I mean, we're kind of
まあでも
almost there with the
共同
different
世界がもう
timelines,
すでに
right?
そんなようなもんだからさ
But I mean, we have our different shards and the realms.
じゃあまあ冒険の舞台はまだまだいっぱいあるぞという
あ
ことで
りますありますね
Well, in other words, we definitely have a lot of places our adventure can still take us.
Yep, for sure.
じゃあはいすいませんパネルの内容に
God, I
戻
hope
り
we
たい
get
と
to
思い
go
ま
to
す
the 13th shard.
Let's bring it back around a little bit.
さて、次はちょっとまた違う種類の注釈について
All right, I'm going to talk about a different kind of annotation here.
全く別のところに書かれているセリフを踏襲
In
し
the
ています
words
よ
of
という内容で注釈を入れたところをいくつか紹介したいと思います
And these are some sections where I had annotations to the effect of we are referencing a line from another place.
はい、じゃあさっきのナレーションに引き続きエメトセルクのところから
So
Bear me
continuing
your
on from our
pity.
theme, we have some Emmet Selk here.
Spare your pity, I have no use for it. If you would do something for me to save our star. See this tale to a triumphant conclusion, and with elation in your hearts bid the final
so this is
curtain
in
fall.
Ultima Thule after all the flowers are blooming, and this is when you are saying your goodbyes.
Only then may it rise again, and a new tale begin with new
Okay,
parts
so,
for all to play.
as far as the annotations, there are two for the end here.
でこれが何を踏襲していたかというと
I do like that they're sharing
and
this. This is
about
nice.
what?
Nice.
と
Now my charms are all
漆黒
overthrown,
ですね
and what strength I
の第7
have,
話ケーブ
mine's
ハーデスの
own.
語りです
So you may or may not remember, but the seventh Tales from the Shadows was about Hades.
I still haven't read
秘話の
those.
こ
I'm a
の
bad girl.
ハーデス
I'm
の
a
最
bad
後の
kitty.
語りはシェイクスピアのテンペストのエピローグから来ています
And there is a very distinctive part in that short story that is very strongly referencing Shakespeare's The Tempest.
なので、行月のエメトセルクとの別れもその内容をちょっと踏まえた言い回しになっています
And thus, he is using a very theatrical and somewhat similar thought pattern here at the end of Endwalker.
エメトセルク周りにはちょいちょいシェイクスピアをお借りしてるんだけどこれには2つ理由があって
Actually, Emmet Selk tends to use a lot of Shakespearean ideas or references, and there's a couple reasons for that.
一つが松野康美さんが「リターン・トゥ・イバリーシュ」の際につけた「ソルテイは演劇が好き」という設定があったから
The first is the setting that was developed during Return to Ivalice, which is that the Solis family really enjoys theater.
あとは浩二さんが主題歌とかいろんな歌詞にシェイクスピアの表現を取り入れることが大好きなのでそこから決めました
The other one is the fact that Koji in his song lyrics and whatever else he's doing just loves to reference Shakespeare, so it bled over into this.
ただなんかそこは結
That
構ケイ
works.
コさん苦労してるらしいので明日のパネルで戦ってください
Yes, that does cause some trouble for the other translators, so we may speak about that at the panel tomorrow.
当時シェイクスピア好きよね
Yeah, Koji for sure likes Shakespeare a lot.
さっき楽屋で高校生の頃は嫌いだったからだけど今は好きだからもっと勉強しとけばよかったなって思ってるって言ってました
Yeah, we were talking in the break room earlier, and he said, no, actually in high school I hated Shakespeare, but now these days I've developed an appreciation, so I continue to study it.
That's definitely odd. Most
は
people
いということ
don't
で
learn to
もう
like
一つ
Shakespeare later in
評価を受
life.
けたセリフですという注釈を紹介したいと思います
And then here's another reference to the short story.
In Corgul's ever rushed headlong into a volcano on the brink of eruption just the other day. I should be glad to share the tale in its entirety
So
later
yes,
if you are
this
so
is
inclined.
The very representative of Azem episode that Hythlodaeus is relaying.
こちらは漆黒秘話の第7話に登場したエピソードでした
This also appeared in the Seven Tales from the Shadows.
ぶどうね、ぶどう
Azem's avant quest for delicious grapes is detailed in Tales from the Shadows number 7.
皆さんもぶどうを持っているんじゃないかと思います
Yes, I mean, this was a tale of Azem going to great lengths, even to jumping into a volcano for some grapes. So be grateful for your own grapes that you have right now.
Oh man, I want the squishy grapes so bad, man.
結構開発チームみんながね言ってくれるから開発チームでも結構人気になってまして
Those grapes are actually really popular with the dev team as well.
アーティストさん
Considering
が
they got memed by the community by
北米
it,
から持って
they
帰ってきてほしい、
good
ト
for
ランクに
them.
詰めて持って帰ってきてほしいって言っていたので、ちょっと後で相談したいと思います。
なるほど。So some of the artists and other people would really like us to take some.
The stress balls, they were so
Yeah.
well recreated.
Yeah, so they would like us to pack some up and bring them back in our suitcases apparently, so we're going to have a chat about that later. I fear for my life. Okay.
I want a grapes.
ロ
I
ー
want
ポ
the
リ
squishy
ブドウ
grapes.
ね、ローポリゴンのブドウはさ、特にね、海外のね、光の選手の皆さんがね、面白いって言ってくれたから良かったようなものの、
Of course, those low poly grapes, I mean, I'm thankful that the players actually took it with a grain of salt. They had such wonderful humor and they realized, oh, this is cool, this is neat. And they picked it up like they were curious about it.
本当はダメだから。
Yeah, that would
It
be
means we
probably be
care.
unacceptable from a game developer perspective.
光の選手の皆さんがね、優しくてよかっ
I'm so glad that the Warriors of Light were so kind to the
なんか
た。
私
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. じゃあブドウの話はちょっと置いておいて、
All right, so setting the grapes aside for just a few minutes.
じゃあ続きもう一個秘話を受けているところをご紹介したいと思います。
Okay, just one more reference to a short story here.
こっちはここに今映っているのはウルティマツーレに旅立つ直前、大繁盛商店の開店を待つ間にビッグスたちと雑談をするところです。
So this is the part before you depart for Ultima Thule, where you are speaking with Biggs and Wedge in front of Tataru's boutique.
Or what happens, we have to keep believing for a brighter future.
こんなことを言っています。
Busy
And to
as
the
we've been, I
Warrior of
wish
Light
there
who
was
is
more
about
we
to
could do
set
for
off
you.
on this journey across the universe, this is what they have to say.
でさてこれに何て返しましょうか。
And what is this referring back to?
どっちにします？
We do, my friend, that we do, and one filled with even more adventure.
まあどっちでもお好みでいいのですが、秘話を受けていたのが上の方。
It's fine to choose whatever dialogue option you like, but of course the top one is a reference.
これは、第8例祭の先でビッグス3世がグラハにかけられていた言葉と重なっています。
Preferred my
So
hand.
these are
Okay.
actually the words of Grahatia
Oh.
during the 8th Umbral Calamity.
漆黒秘話の第8
I
話
proffered
で
my
す
hand in
ね。
our customary manner, and
eighth,
Gratia returned the
tale
gesture.
from the shadows.
That would do, my friend, that
こ
would
れは
do.
しれっと入れていたので多くの方が特に意識せずに選んだのではないかなと思い
So
ます。
cute.
I feel like a lot of people probably chose this option not even realizing it was a reference.
意図せずに
Yeah, I didn't realize it was a reference. I haven't read any of the tales
がかけられた言葉と同じだった
tale stories. I have the book, I just
という
haven't read
状況が生じる
it.
ことを私が見てにっこりするための仕掛けです。
Personally, I put this in there because it really entertained me, the thought of the Warrior of Light not knowing what they're doing, essentially saying the exact same thing that Graha would say in the future to a Biggs.
でせっかくグラハの話が出たのでちょっと続けてみると、
And since we are on the subject of Grahatia,
まあ、さっき
Yeah.
のちょっと話題に出た漆黒秘話第8話といえば
I love
ビッグス
Graha.
たちが夢や希望を星の絵と
He is my husband.
夢や希望を星の輝きに例えていました。
so in that 8th short story, the Biggs and everybody are sort of likening dreams and hopes to the shining of the stars.
で彼らと行動を共にしたグラハもその例えが好きな様子です。
Knows a boy many long
And
years lagoons stand
actually,
tall as the heroes of
Grahatia,
Eld.
who did work with them, also really likes that metaphor.
このセリフを
But like a
非常に
fool seeking to
何度
pluck
か
the
使ってい
stars from
ま
the
す。
heavens, my every
And
attempt to
that
reprise
is
their
used
deeds
many
fell
times
short.
in his lines.
でそれを念頭に置きつつ、お次はグラハとある人物の対比について見ていきましょう。
From
So
Grahatia
while we
to
have that in mind, let's look into a contrasting pair that we made between Grahatia and another character.
こちらは行月の終盤。
treats of stars and wings of adamantite to carry the end of the creation beyond, the promise of hope everlasting, that much I do
と
understand.
いう話をしているシーンです。
So this is getting towards the end when you need to ensure that the aether burner will be working, and you find out that it was actually Amon that invented the refined adamantite.
エクスアダマントによって遠くの星に到達できるといいなという内容ですが、
So basically, of course, what Grahatia is expressing here is it would be great if we could use that same adamantite to reach the stars.
ここの星っていうのもやっぱり希望という意味がかけられています。
But for Grahatia, stars mean hope itself.
まあ、塔の開発者であるアモンが聞いたら、
Right, he seeks to challenge the ends of the earth with
めちゃくちゃ嫌がりそうですよね。
Anamata. He pictures
But
mankind's
you know,
deliverance.
Amon, who invented this stuff, he probably really would not like that way of thinking.
彼とグラハ
cannot
は
help
共
but
にアラ
associate
ブ
the
文明
stars
が
with
残した
hope.
ものという立場でありながら正反対を向いてもいます。
Grahatia and Amon are in some ways both responsible for carrying Allegan culture into the future, right? But they have very different viewpoints.
なので
Graha's
対比さ
not
せて
fucking
書いている
crazy.
セリフも多くて、それについ
It's a
て
big part of
注
it.
釈を入れていました。
And for that reason, I wrote a lot of lines that sort of make them a contrasting pair, and I'd like to introduce a couple of them.
例えばこちら
Ooh, exciting.
For instance,
Night.
this one.
正解の
Now
最
after night, the
で
faceless
アモンの
multitude, the
魂と
voiceless
決着を
cries,
つけた時の
shards
こと
of shattered
So this is
memories.
in the ethereal sea when you have overcome the soul of Amon in your grand battle.
彼はヘルメスとしての記憶をこんな風に感じていると言っていました。
And this is what he has to say about his memories of his time as Hermes.
さて、これがグラハの何と対になっていたのかというと、こちらです。
Now, what Graha line can this be compared to?
吉田さん、動画の
Oh,
ああごめんなさい
we have a
じゃあ
video.
こ
We have
こ
a video
動
for
画
this.
の
もう真剣にクリックをあなたのこうセリフに合わせてやることに集中してたら動画だった次
I was so fixated and concentrating on. Okay, click next, click next. I forgot that this was going to be a video. Let us play back the video.
No, video. Oh, is this when we're going to go wake him up?
Yours is a long road, my friend, and it stretches onto places beyond imagining.
God, the VA is so sexy. That's such a sexy voice.
With your every step, these grand adventures shall grow more distant and faint. And there may come a day when you forget the faces and voices of those you have met along the way. On that day, I bid you remember this. That no matter how far your journey may take you, you stand where you stand by virtue of the road you walked to get there.
Oh, I love the English voice actor for Graha. Love him so much.
はい、ということで、パチ5.3さんのグラハを起こしに行く際のモノローグでした。
This is, of course, Grahatia's monologue in 5.3.
まあとてもいいシーンでしたね僕も調整チェック中に何回か流されてるんでここ
This was such a good scene. Every time I
Love
needed to
it.
review it during the producer-director checks, I always got teary-eyed.
5.3さんはちょうどコロナが世界的パンデミックになってきた時に制作していました。
Yeah, and 5.3 was exactly in the middle of the pandemic when we were trying to make this anyway.
なので
I
残念
think
で
this
すね。
may have
吉田さん
started
の
around
泣いてるシーンは見れなかった
5.3.
So I'm
I
kind of
came
disappointed because we
before-
weren't in the office and I couldn't see Yoshi P crying at this.
そうか
I joined after we figured out Graha was the X
あの
arc,
頃って
but
在宅
before he got
Oh,
turned
were we
to Blue
already
Crystal,
switched to work from home?
いや、私だって吉田さんが最初に在宅辞めて、私2番目なので、そんなに合わなかったと思うんですけど、
だからできるだけ合わないようにしてたのか
そうそうそうそうそう。
So, I mean, Yoshi P, you went back to the office earlier than I did, and then I was second, so I think I just missed it.
I guess I was avoiding just running into people. That's what it is.
残念でしたね。見たかったですね。
Oh, what a shame. I wanted to see that.
いやいやいいよもう
No.
3年
3年。
3 years ago now?
いや
Yeah.
早いものですね。
it
まあ
has
でもあ
been.
れね
That was fast.
明けない夜はない希望は必ずあるみたいな話だよね3年経って今思うのはね
But yeah, there is no night that will dawn to a new day. So yeah, I mean, even 3 years since then, it's still a very clear memory.
だって皆さんともねまたこうやって直接会えるようになったので
And yeah, we were able to get over it, and we were able to come here and join together live in person.
Yay! I really like the online fan fest actually. I like that they stream the concerts.
でそこを改めて見るとってところですね。
はい、改めて見てみます。
All right, so let's take a look at these again together.
つまり、アモンもグラハもお互いに声も顔も思い出せなくなるような遠い記憶について話しています。
So both of them are talking about when the memories that you have become so far away and disconnected.
グラハ推奨校はそうやって記憶が薄れたとしても全ての出来事は今日のあなたに続いていると言っています。
However, Grahatia, the Crystal Exarch, believes that even when your memories become faint and they start to become lost to you, all of the stuff that happened to you is still a part of you.
じゃあアモンは何と言っていたか。
But what about Amon?
さっきの彼の最後のシーンに戻ってみると、
If we return to his final scene here,
つながってるもんか畜生と言っているんですね。
he is very frustrated at the idea even that these old memories might still be connected.
二人の主張はどちら
Make
で
a
も間違い
mistake,
で
my
は
life
な
as
くて、
Hermes
そ
is
れぞれ
not the
の視
reason
点から
I
見て正しい
invited
も
the
のだと
world's
思います。
end.
Neither of them are really mistaken. It's just that they're looking at this from very different perspectives.
ただ、
Amon rejected that Hermes' fractured memories were truly a part of him. He believed he could separate them from his self.
But personally, I think that no matter how much Amon wants to believe that Hermes' memories are unrelated to what he's doing, they did in some way influence even this very thought
Yeah,
pattern.
they both destroyed their civilizations. I hate Hermes, by the way.
For instance, why would he have ended up wanting to destroy Theris if he hadn't had some sort of influence from those memories?
彼自身もそれを分かってないわけで
I
はない
hate
と思いま
Hermes
す。
so much.
I think even he understands that on some level.
Complications be damned, for we cannot escape the nature of our
This
souls,
is
and I,
when
as ever,
Daniel
am
is
my
talking to
own
himself
worst
in
enemy.
Thavnir.
こんな風に感じていながらも、でもこの心もこの判断も自分だけのものだと叫んでいたんだと思います。
While he was sort of feeling internally that he actually could not escape those memories, and he really still wants to assert, though, that he is an individual despite that.
ちなみにこの魂の性分という話もさっきのエクスアダマントのところでグラハが指摘しています。
This similar talk of souls that Van Daniel is doing actually does appear in Graha's speeches as well.
This may seem far-fetched, but what if souls like minds have a personality, so to speak, a natural disposition towards which they are inclined?
I mean, it's a bit weird of me to say this, but I really felt that this line of Graha's was moving.
はい、ということでアラグな2人の対比を見てみたんですけれども、
Okay, so we've looked at some of these comparisons between these two.
アラグ帝国の全容もいつか書いてみたいよねってたびたび話題に上がりますよね、吉田さん。
And honestly, you know, they're all really Alec related, and it makes me wonder, when are we going to get to learn the whole story of the Allegan Empire? Yoshida-san.
Yeah, when are we going to?
日本の光の戦士の間ではファイナルファンタジー14のストーリー上でなんか厄介なことがあると、まあ、大体アラグのせいっていうミームがあるんですよ。
So amongst the Japanese players, whenever there's some inconvenience or something that story-wise, there's some kind of snag that we hit, we have a tendency to lore or explain it away as, oh, it's probably those darned Allegan cultures or the Allegan old Allegan in the Allegan Empire.
なんか
Oh, if they explain it, they can't have that excuse anymore. Oh no, oh no.
そういうミームみたいなのはないんですかね。
I'm wondering, are there memes in North America as well? Like we kind of blame it on the Allegans? Yeah. 結構あるみたいです。
ああ、結構ある。ああ、そうなんだ。いや、そのファイナルファンタジー14通してこう至る所にこうアラグ帝国の痕跡がまああるじゃない。
So of course, yeah, when you look at different aspects within Final Fantasy XIV, you do see elements that kind of refer to like the remains of Allagan technology, Allag, whatnot.
だからロアも含めて結構ちゃんとエピソード実はね作られてるところがめちゃくちゃ多いんだよね。
So we actually do have like different background stories, including some parts of the lore that have described those different episodes that relate to those elements, those Allagan elements.
だからいつかねアラグがメインになるなんかね拡張はやりたいなみたいな気はあるんですよ。
And of course, I would love to eventually have an expansion pack that's kind of dedicated to delving deeper into the different sort of elements of the Allagan Empire.
みんな聞いた？みんな聞いた？今の覚えておいてね。
You heard that. You heard that. Remember that.
Okay, Allag one day, guys. We're gonna get to learn about it. They're promising right now.
I'm sure people will kind of think about, well, really, the Allagan? We're going to talk about the Allagans again?
Yes, there's so much we could know. Let's do it.
Natchan, if you're willing to write the story for this, I can definitely consider it.
私が後輩を育てた意味とは一体何だったのか。
Oh, I don't know about that.
まあでも私ね、最近ディープダンジョン、オルトレール化でアラグの話を書かせていただきました。
I mean, I did though. I did write some Allagan stuff in the most recent Deep Dungeon.
It was good. I liked it. It was a good story. Give us more.
ボスの説明とかを聞くことができてですね。そこでアラグ側から見た見解ってどうだったのかなっていうのをちょっと垣間見ることができるので、まだの方はぜひ遊んでみてください。
And while the story for that was short, I did think after you beat the boss, you get a lot of explanation, and that's all Allag from an Allagan's perspective. So I thought that was interesting, and you should check it out if you're interested.
まあでもアラグ帝国が全盛期だった時代に何が起こったのかっていうのはプレイヤーの皆さんもなんとなくねロアブックも含めて断片的には知ってると思うんですけど、あれを全部つないだらねめちゃくちゃ面白いと実は思ってるんで、まあ、何かしら考えたいなと思ってます。はい。
For sure, Eureka Orthos included, the different aspects that we have been depicting about the Allagan Empire have been sort of explained like bits and pieces. You may have noticed some descriptions written in the lore book as well. And I feel that if we kind of string them together and kind of weave a story, it would come out to be a very interesting story.
まあね、ちょっとね、この話続けると未来の開発チームが困る気がするので、パネルに戻りましょうか。
Okay, if we continue on this train, the dev team is going to be in trouble. So let's return to our main subject.
さて、先ほどはグラハとアモンに対するグラハとアモンの対比にまつわる注釈を見ていたんですけれども、もう一対対比になっていますという注釈が入っている人たちがいました。
So we were talking before about these lines upon which I made notes about some contrast.
Further
but here is
foils.
another pair of characters about which I made the note that they are contrasts.
彼、今度はアモンならぬヘルメスですね。
What is it that gives their lives
So in
meaning,
this
that
case,
drives them
not
day
Amon,
after
but
day
Hermes.
after day?
彼のすべてとも言えるこのセリフ。
And this really basically tells you all of Hermes' character, this particular line.
それとついになっていたのが、
Yes.
さて何だったの
Hermes
か。
is a depresso
So what
espresso.
sort of stands in contrast to this line?
じゃあここも動画でその答えを見てみることにしましょう。
Okay, let's check out that answer via a video. Can we play back the video, please?
Yet you would ask me why. Ask any creature of this star and those above for answers, and they will tell you what suits their fancy. And they would be right to do so. What meaning there is to be found in the petty vicissitudes of your existence must be gleaned by you and you alone.
はい、ということで、ついになっていたのはゼノスのセリフでした。
And that was Xenos.
あら、ゼノス人気高いな。
I'm surprised. Xenos is popular amongst this
ゼ
crowd.
ノス好きな
あらら、
Oh,
あり
man,
が
you
とうご
like
ざい
him.
ます。
Yeah.
ありがとうございます。
Oh,
Thank
you.
you.
では今のは光の戦士がエルピスから帰った後、週末に見舞われたマグナグラケースで再会した時のセリフでした。
So this is when the Warrior of Light has returned from Elpis and has met everyone on the Magna Glaciers.
まあね、ゼノスといえば登場からずっと自分勝手で自己中心的な人物です。
Well, when I think about Xenos, I think about how from his very first appearance, he has always been he's always been focused solely on his own ends.
ただ、
Oh,
悩
he
める
does
ヘルメスの
not
後
give a
に見
crap
る
about anybody
と、
else.
これもある種の答え、強さなんだなっていうのを改めて感じます。
But when you sort of look back at Xenos after hearing Hermes' reflections, you see that perhaps this is one way to answer Hermes' question, and it is a strong answer in its own way.
まあね、この後これで周りをめちゃくちゃ怒らせるし、アリゼにボロクソに言われるんですけどね。
Of course, immediately after that, he gets told off by Alize, but
でも、なんだ
Go,
ろう、
Alize,
そのヘルメス
go.
とそのゼノスのセリフの対比は、多分プレイヤーの皆さんでもめちゃめちゃ気づいた人が多かったんじゃないかなと思います。
I do want to chime in here on this dialogue here with that contrast between Hermes and Xenos. I'm sure a lot of players have taken notice of this.
僕よくその日本だけじゃなくて全世界の光の戦士の皆さんのファンの皆さんのツイッターとか SNS 見て、まあ、どう解釈してるのかなっていうのをよくサーチするんですけど、ここはね多分一番多かった。
So yeah, sometimes I look on social media to see what kind of interpretations our Warriors of Light make on like Twitter or other social
Oh
channels.
God, they're on Twitter.
It was interesting because I did notice that a lot of fans have kind of noticed this contrast and they've pointed it out.
なんかこうそんな質問をね自分じゃないやつに答えを求めたってそんなもん誰かの理屈しか返ってこねえよってまあゼノスが言うわけじゃないあそこで。
So basically, Xenos is saying, well, you're trying to get answers from somebody that's not you, but that's somebody else's thinking.
なんかそれを逆にこうヘルメスにだからヘルメスはダメだったんだよって言ってる人が結構多くて。
So taking that in mind, people started to kind of point at Hermes, saying, well, that's why you didn't succeed because you didn't search for the answer yourself.
いいシーンだと思いましたここは。
But it was such a great scene here.
まあね、難しいですよね。でもゼノスの生き方も多分やり方によってはすごい強いけど、やっぱり周りを怒らせたり嫌われたり、アリゼが言っていた通り、だからお前はいつまでも一人なんだよってところだとは思うんですよね。
I mean, it's kind of difficult because yes, you can look at Xenos and how he lives as a very strong way to live, but also you have to think about what Alize said and like this is why people are angry at Xenos, this is why he's always alone.
そのあたりは皆さんにも何か考えてみてもらえればなと思って、ちょっと分かりやすいところにこれの対比を近い位置に置いていました。
So I put these two things together to really provoke you all to think about it.
でもなんかこうみんながみんなさ自分一人で答え出せるわけじゃないからだからこそ誰かに頼りたくなるし、でもだからこそ仲間や友達がいるっていうのも事実だから、なんかどっちが正しくてどっちが間違ってるじゃ実はないんだよね。時と場合によるんだよねこれ。
And of course, there are people who try to search for the answer but are unable to, and so they might have to lean on somebody. But you know, and you had friends for that, and you have your support. So it's not about like what's right or what's wrong.
逆にヘルメスの方が人間臭いなと思うもんね。だから
So in that aspect, I feel Hermes is more like very down to earth and human almost.
ちょうどなんかソケンさんも俺こんなハッピーな曲書いたことないよ 7.0 のオープニングってずっと他人に答えを求めてました。
I hate
Yeah,
Hermes.
even
No matter what they
Soken,
say.
the legendary Soken, was just asking all of us, like, are you sure the song I wrote isn't too happy? Like, even he wants that support from around him.
みんなで大丈夫だから、ソケンさん大丈夫だからって言ってて、
Is it okay? Is it
皆さんに
okay?
ゴーって言ってもらえたので、多分ソケンさんは答えを得たと思います。
But we all told him it was great, and you all cheered so much today, so we think he found his own answer there.
まあちなみに光の戦士の夏休みだから振り切っていこうって言って本当ね俺こんなハッピーな曲書いたことないって言いながら途中でギターギャーンって鳴ってるの分かりますよねでも。
And by the way, we were mentioning about how this is going to be like a summer vacation for our Warriors of Light. So we tried to swing all the way in that direction as possible. So while Soken was kind of whining about, well, I've never written a happy song like this, you know, you can hear the guitar, like just how happy the guitar is in that riff.
If we don't get a beach scene with Grahatia in a bathing suit, I will rage.
Oh,
I will
and there was
100%
a
rage.
section where there was like some kind of shouting in there. I want y'all to guess who did the shouting in that song.
ああなるほど。本人の名誉のため黙っておこう。
Oh, actually, I'm going to keep it quiet because just to preserve his dignity.
でもね。
もう遅いよ。
Too late.
Too late?
It's too late.
Oh.
ホテルに戻ってね、もうオフィシャルに上がってるから見てね聞いてもらえばすぐわかる。
But once you return to your hotel rooms, the trailer should be up on YouTube. You can look it up and make sure to listen to and I'm sure you'll be able to
trailer's
tell
already
what
up,
it is,
dude.
Once you listen to it.
まあね、そんな風にソケンさんでも周りに答えを求めてる日があるという、余談。これソケンさんには内緒ね。多分今聞いてないから。
So yeah, even Soken has those days where he's really looking for those answers. Maybe don't tell him that we told you all of this.
はい、ちょっとだいぶそれちゃったので、
はい、
ちょっとこっちのシーンの話に戻するんですけども、実はこのシーンですね、ゼノスの言葉を聞いた光の戦士が本当に珍しくゼノスに対して険しくない表情をしています。
Oh, shoot.
So right, returning to this scene, you will notice that the Warrior of Light, in a very rare move, is not giving Xenos a very stern glare in response. This is a completely different reaction.
こういうハッとした表情ですね。
This is your look of surprise.
一方でゼノスはい
Okay.
つも通り自分の主張を
I
ベラベ
accidentally
ラ
hit
して
a
る
button
だ
on my
けなので、
headphones.
ハ
Whoops.
ッとされてることに気づいてさえいない。
On the other hand, Xenos is just talking and going on the way he normally does, and it doesn't seem like he's even noticed the surprise reaction he's getting.
もしここで光の戦士がなんかいつもと違
Yeah,
う
Meteor
ことを
just
してる
being
なっ
like,
ていうことに
what
気
the
づいて
fuck?
この会話を掘り下げてたら何か違う未来があったかもしれません。
I wonder if Xenos had noticed that the Warrior of Light was reacting in this way and had sort of dug into that a bit, if the ending would have been different.
とはいえゼノスだったら100回やっても100回気づかないんじゃないかなと私は思いますけど。
Probably not.
Though I also think that even if you did this 100 times in front of Xenos, he probably would not notice.
That's accurate.
100%
100%.
ゼノスの言葉とかゼノスとプレイヤーの皆さんがこう相対した場合にプレイヤーの皆さんのキャラクターにどんな表情をさせようかとかどんな演技をさせようかっていうのはもう何年にもわたってめちゃくちゃ悩んできたポイントです実は。
So with these words being spoken, as well as that sort of facing the character and Warrior of Light, and the Warrior of Light is of course the players themselves. So it's always a challenge to kind of figure out how do we make the character react, like what kind of facial expression should we have and what kind of movement or mannerisms we would have to have our players take, and that has been a challenge for many years.
プレイヤーの皆さん14の場合は主人公はプレイヤーの皆さん自身そのキャラクターがやっぱり主人公なのでこうゼノスが大好きだって思う人もいればこいつはもう許せないです絶対に嫌いだっていう人もいるので
And again, because the player is the hero or the main protagonist of Final Fantasy XIV, and it is your character that is being depicted there. So, of course, we have people who love Xenos, and then those people who can't stand him, who can't forgive him for what he's
I have
done.
a friend who loves
そう
Xenos.
ここをね
I
バ
think
ランス取
Xenos
る
is a
のがどっ
psychopath.
ちとも取れるこう仕草をするとか表情をするっていうの
I don't
で
get it, but at the same time, I love
めちゃ
Emmett
くちゃ
Silk,
調整してき
so
た
I really shouldn't judge anyone.
And just trying to strike a good balance to make sure that we're accommodating for those at both ends of the spectrum. We would really have to be careful to have the expression and the different sort of motions be interpreted in the appropriate way, or it can be like vague enough so that you can interpret it in the way you had imagined it. And so it's something that we're very careful about.
でもまあここのハッとするぐらいだったらね好きでも嫌いでも関係ないからね
And so with this sort of look of bewilderment, I think you can take it in any way you can, I think.
そうこの「は」の意味はあえて深くどうとも取らせないような塩梅をすごい調整して入れてもらったところですね。
Yeah, this expression of surprise is supposed to be very open to interpretation.
あれまあ6.0 じゃなく 6.x シリーズでもねちょっと「友」っていうキーワードに反応する光の戦士のシーンがまああるんですけどあそこも今回めちゃめちゃ調整したもんカットシーンもう
Yeah, sorry, it goes beyond 6.0, but there is a scene in the 6.x patch series where Xenos would mention my friend, and you would have the Warrior of Light kind of react to that. But that was also a challenge for us to get the expression just right.
まあせっかくだからそのゼノスも随分長く登場したキャラになったんで少しなんかエピソードがあればゼノスについて話をしますもう機会がなさそうだから
そうね。
You know, with Xenos being such a recurring character, and he's been around for a while at this point, like I wish there was an opportunity to kind of delve more into it. So you want to just dive into that?
そうですね。もう懐かしいもんねこのゼノス。
懐かしいもんな
Oh, I look back fondly on this old Xenos.
Huge.
ゼノス。
いや
ありがとう
Oh,
かっこいい
there's
って
the
言ってく
psycho
れた
face. There's the psycho
Thank you, he is
face.
cool.
ちなみになっちゃん個人としてはこうゼノスっていうキャラクターって身近
Oh,
にい
I'll
た
be
ら
honest, I don't think
割
Xenos
と
was
あ
a
りな
good
の
villain.
なしなのどっ
I don't think he was a good character. I thought he was
So
boring
by
as
the way,
hell.
Natchan, if you were you personally would meet Xenos, like as somebody as like your acquaintance, like what is your sort of impression of him?
すべてのキャラクターはやっぱり自分が描く以上絶対自分に全く被らないものって出ないんですよ。
I mean, I think all characters, because I'm writing them, I mean, there's none of them that are going to be exactly the same as me.
だからその全く分かんないやつってことは絶対になくって私はゼノスの気持ちも分かるしゼノスの主張っていうのも結構自分の主張と近いなって思うところがありはするんですけど
Though at the same time, obviously it's coming from me, so a lot of my own thoughts and feelings are also reflected in there.
多分それが第三者として近くにいたら自己嫌悪とか同族嫌悪でどうだろうなってところ。
If it was more of a detached relationship and I met him, I'm really not sure how I would feel.
吉田さんゼノスで好きなシーンとかって何かありますか？
好きなシーンかゼノスの調整もめちゃくちゃ俺多分一番ゼノスもこだわったんだよな
Oh,
So many that.
that's weird.
When Xenos kind of challenges the warriors, like gosh, there's so many.
いっぱい作ったけどまあやっぱ最後はあれかなバリーンって出てくるところかな最後 6.0 の終盤
I think the one that comes to me at the top of my head is when he kind of breaks in towards the end of the 6.0 main scenario and just appears as we're leading into that end singer battle.
And then we kill him.
戦う直前ですね。
This is pretty much right before we fight the end singer.
多分誰もがねあの局面で暁のメンバーも全員逃がしちゃってこれどうすんだろう
Cool. It looks like she's taking notes while translating.
I'm sure everybody was wondering. Wait, the Scions are just letting him go.
でそしたらガラスをぶち割るようなこう音がし始めて飛び出してくる神竜っていうところはまあなんだろう状況をめちゃくちゃな勢いでひっくり返すというか壊すみたいなところがやっぱり
Translating live is really hard.
であそこは結
I
構好きなシーン
respect
で
the
はあ
two
る
girls, the two
And
ladies
so
are
people are
translated.
kind of wondering what's going to happen, and Xenos is in his dragon form at this point, and he just kind of breaks through, like the speed of light even. And so I think it's just so characteristic of Xenos that he's able to kind of just break all logic and just appear, and it's very much like him to do that.
でもあそこのシーンはセリフ書くの相当苦労した場所でもあるでしょうきっと
But at the same time, I'm sure it was a challenge to write the dialogue there too, right?
何をどこまで説明するか、
何を
ゼノスが来た経緯っていうのをどこまで説明するかについては吉田さんとかなり綿密に打ち合わせをしました。
Yeah, actually, like the part we had a really hard time deciding, and that I had to talk to Yoshida-san a lot about, was how much to explain how he got here.
いきなりぶち破ってきてねずーっとさ俺はなぜここに来れたかお前たちは分かるかっつってずーっと説明したら変だもんねだってね
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you wouldn't want to have him kind of break this barrier and then start explaining, do you know how I got through here? And, start exposition.
そうだからちょっと説明不足気味ではあるし、あるんだけれども。
I mean, it is a little low on the explanation side for my taste, but
なんかゼノスの思いと思いが力になる世界っていうことであれば、光すら超えて俺は来たっていうもうそれだけでもうゼノスはいいのかなって思ってました。
But then again, we are in a space where emotions are reality. And if you think about what Xenos is emotionally fixated on, it's not really surprising that he's like, oh, I rode the light of the stars here and now I'm here.
まあ現実のね世界には物理法則としてねかの超天才のアインシュタインが作ったね高速度不変の定理っていうのがあるんですけど
We have the laws of physics as discovered by Einstein.
ゼノス空間では思いが全てなので光すら追い抜くことがたやすかったぞっていう一言でもうあと済ませるっていうね
But yeah, Xenos just kind of breaks that even logic and just he can surpass the speed of light.
でも、あそこもやっぱりこうさっきのゼノスが好きだって言ってくださる方ともうこいつなんてもう本当にうんざりだっていう人の両方でも局面はその竜の背に乗って戦うしかないのでただお互いにパーティーを組んで共闘してるわけじゃないっていうのをどうやって演出しようかっていうのであそこもめちゃくちゃ大変だった。
And I know we earlier touched upon those people who love Xenos, but then those who can't stand him. And we were very careful about taking into consideration both ends of the spectrum. So when we had kind of the Warrior of Light jump onto Shinryu or Xenos in his dragon form and fighting, it was a challenge for us to make sure that it doesn't look like they've kind of buddied up and got into a party and started fighting.
まあだから時のウォリアー・オブ・ライト光の選手はもうゼノスの力なんか借りて戦うつもりはないけどとりあえず終焉を歌う者を倒すために足場がないから仕方ないからもう足場として使おうっていう考え方だし
So yeah, when we're looking at it from the Warrior of Light's perspective, he doesn't want to get Xenos' help, but then the only way he can reach Endslinger is to kind of utilize Xenos in his dragon form as his sort of platform.
まあゼノスはゼノスでねお前と戦うために来たんだからさっさとあいつ倒せよって仕方ないな俺がバトルフィールドやってやるよっていう
And Xenos is Xenos. Xenos wants to just fight with his friend and have that sort of challenge match go on. So he just wants Warrior of Light to finish fighting and defeating the Endslinger. So fine, I'll be the platform on which you will fight.
でもそれってすごい大事で、そういう意図でやってるからこそ。ゼノスって他の星々がどう絶望してようが絶望しない。
It's possible. Like, that was very important, that sort of not quite friendly sort of one very determined perspective. And it's possible because this is the perspective that Xenos is approaching it from, that he was completely invulnerable to the despair that everyone else was falling into.
結果的にだから勝てたコンビと言っていいのかわからないけれども、嫌々ながらというか意図してない仲間ではない共闘がなかったら勝てなかったんじゃないかなって私は思います。
It's possible if they had had more of a friendly relationship there, it would not have worked for defeating the Endsinger.
まあ一応それにまつわるセリフとしてはね、ベーネスのセリフに、そのアゼムのクリスタルを持っていた元の持ち主はこう言っていたわよっていうセリフで、まあ本当にやばい、どうにもならない状況を打ち破るときは、そのクリスタルで呼ばない何かがそれを打ち破ってくれるって言い残してたから、それにばっかり頼るんじゃないよ的な話があるんですけど、まあそれがまさにあのシーンだよね。
And there was additional dialogue that kind of supports that. It was spoken by Vana talking about the crystal of Azam, and then the person who is the beholder of that, and she left a dialogue about how whenever, or to the effect of whenever there's when you're in a bad situation, and the crystal would probably you would need to call forth something, and it would break through, and so don't just depend on the crystal. Don't just depend on the crystal.
まあそれもまさに注釈が入っていたとこ
We
ろです。
depend on that crystal a
I
whole
also
lot
made a
in
note
this
about
game.
that.
はいということで、ちょっと話が脱線だいぶしちゃいましたけれども、注釈の話に戻ってまいりましょう。
Okay, now that we've diverged again, let's go back to the annotations.
次は最後にですね、暁の仲間についての注釈、ルベユール家についての注釈を見ていきます。
Levular
So finally,
Line.
for this type, I would like to talk about some notes I
Leveilleur
made about the
line.
Leveilleurs.
まあ
Levueurs.
彼らが凍土にあ
I
るシ
can
ーンではな
totally
く
pronounce
て、
things
ガレマルド
correctly.
でのあるシーンをご覧いただきたいと思います。
This is not when they are toads, but this is when we're in Garlemald.
ではこちらも動画でご覧いただきましょう。
Okay, and so we do have a video for this one as well. If we can
Yay, I like videos.
Non-intervention. Always non-intervention. Protect our knowledge and our people, and to hells with the rest of you. And yet, I can see how it happened. Varys and Father looked to their elders for guidance and took their virtues as their own. But for this world was of their making. In who else could they place their trust? All of us lost in a sea of chaos, searching desperately for purpose and meaning. But it shouldn't just be an extension of another's. It has to be ours. It has to be.
以上、ありがとうございます。Thank you。私もここ好きなシーンなんですけれども、ガレマルド編で監禁されたアルフィノとアリゼが自分たちの考えを見つめ直すシーンでした。
As you just saw, this is during Garlemald when Alphino and Alice are taken prisoner and are sort of reflecting on their own ways of thinking.
こういうセリフだったわけですが、
These are the lines in question.
注釈を入れていたのがどこかというと、
And I put an annotation on this one,
この3つ目のセリフ。
the third one.
その中の日本語でかけがえのないものという言葉についてあるセリフを踏襲していますという注釈を入れていました。
So I had a note that this one particular phrase in the Japanese, kakegae no nai mono, came from a previous line.
この言葉なんですけど、意味としては他のものが取って変わることができないようなとても大切なものという感じの意味です。
So this phrase, kakegae no nai mono, has a meaning that is like there is no replacement for this thing, and it's very important to me personally.
ただ見たところ英語には直接対応する表現がなさそうです。
So as you may notice, none of the words I just said are in the English.
何が起きているのか把握するために一旦注釈の内容を先に見てみましょう。
So to understand what is going on here, we need to take a look at the annotation.
かけがえのないものという言葉がキーワードとして出て
Your
きた
hopes
の
and
は
dreams with
大
no
迷
army and
宮バハ
station
ムート
line.
の
You
物
just
語
need
で
to
し
find your
た。
own reason to fight for this
Okay,
realm.
so when the phrase Kakegai no Naimono was previously important was in the binding coil of Bahamut.
消
Young
えゆくユ
maiden
ーズワから孫たちへの
in
願
the
い、
sea of
ここに
chaos.
かけがえのないものが使われていたんですね。
When Louis Wa is talking to his grandchildren about what he wishes for them, that is when he uses this phrase in Japanese, Kakegai no Naimono.
大迷宮バハムートを踏破してせよ、そうでないにせよ、双子は旅の中で成長してガリバルドに至る頃にはちゃんとこのルイズワが願ったような人物に成長しています。
And what he was wishing for was for them to have growth on their journey, whether it was going through Coil or in the wider world. He wanted them to grow into stronger individuals, and at this point in Garlemald, they have gone on that journey just as Louis Wa wished.
日本語ではかけがえのないものという言葉を重ねることでその意味合いを補強していたというわけです。
And in Japanese, the repetition of this phrase, kakegai no naimono, is how we sort of call back so that you remember that this was something that came from Louis Wa originally.
でも英語版ではそもそも元のバッハのセリフの方にかけがえのないものに対応する単語が使われていないようです。
But as you can see, even in the original line in English, in the Binding Coil of Bahamut, we did not have words like irreplaceable or precious thing.
日本語と英語では語彙が違うし、ふさわしい言い回しも違うので、当然こういうことが起きてしまう。
This is something that really frequently happens with such different languages as Japanese and English. When you want to convey the same sentiment, sometimes you have to use a completely different phrase.
さて困った。
Yep,
そ
that's
こで
how
どう
languages
したのでしょう
work.
か。
But it sure is rough. So what exactly happened here?
ケイトさん教えてもらえますか。
Hi. Kate, can you explain it? I shall. All right, so this is a bit of a two-part explanation. First, to explain why Louis Wa's line is translated this way. As we sort of touched on, kakegai no naimono, literally it means irreplaceable thing, but in use it has this very strong connotation of something that's very important to me. Like it goes directly to your heart when you hear it. So we wanted Louis Wa to have his own way of saying that, that would communicate the fact that this is something that will become very important to you personally and a part of who you are. And that's why we chose these words. Your hopes and dreams must no longer be an extension of mine. You must needs find a reason to fight for this realm, your own meaning in this sea of chaos. And then, if we go to Alice's line, you can see that some of his phrases do once again appear. She recognizes the same situation that Louis Wa was referring to, that we are all in a sea of chaos searching for meaning, and that it can't just be an extension of another. It has to be something that's very deep and personal to you. And then we also use a cheat that we sometimes use, which is when you want the literal meaning, but you also want to do this callback, and there's too much to fit into one line. We did extend this across Alize's arc, as you will see in Ishikawa-san's upcoming explanation. But for now,
More to come.
手にしました。
And now you can just see, like, okay, so for this line in particular, we have those repeated expressions similar to the Japanese, and then in a later line of Alize's, we will bring it back to a slightly more literal interpretation and a more Alize-like interpretation to sort of finish this growth arc of hers. So, はい、それ。
Thank you, ケイトさん。つまり別の言葉を重ねることでルイゾアの該当のセリフとの関係性を作ったというわけですね。この辺りのローカライズチームの素晴らしい工夫は明日のローカライズパネルでも伺えるそうなので、ぜひそちらもご覧ください。
If you'd like to hear a little bit more about the techniques we use when translating, you can come to the localization panel tomorrow.
ここでちょっと聞いてみたいんですけど、
Oh, I want to ask another question here.
突然ケイトさんと、あなたあゆみさんにもなんですけど、今のってまさに日本語の曖昧さというか、そのかけがえのないものって我々よく使うんですよ。ゲームのシナリオとかキャラクターのセリフだとよく使うんですけど、英語にはそれに該当する言い方がないんですよね。
そうです。
全く。
So yeah, sorry, we're breaking out into more of a localization question here. We're curious to know from Kate and possibly from Aimee also, but then this sort of vagueness of Japanese and like a lot of implication happens within such short phrasing like kakegai no nai mono. It is something that the Japanese writers tend to use a lot in like depicting how a character feels about something. And so yeah, there's no like one-to-one translation in English.
例えばシナリオをこう翻訳、カルチャライズしてきて日本人がよく使いそうなテキストでそれはだから英語にはないんだってこう思うなんか代表例みたいなのもしくは僕の通訳をいつもあゆみさんしてもらっててよしぴーそれよく言うけどそれ英語にないんだよっていうのなんかあったりします？
So whenever we are writing the scenario and then we have the localization team kind of culturize it, so to speak, you know, there are a lot of words that might not necessarily be like a succinct way of expressing it, like in one or two words. And same goes for translation and interpretations as well. So are there any sort of examples you can think of, like in your writing, the English localization, like this is so hard to kind of put it into like good words in the English.
Well, I think the one that comes to mind right at this moment is we were also talking about this earlier in the break room, but there's the Japanese phrase like yoroshiku onegaishimasu, right? Which means like, please, I would like you to treat me respectfully while we're about to do this thing, thanks. Like there's really no good translation in English, so you just kind of have to understand what the context is and go from there. なんかよろしくお願いしますみたいに、なんかその決まった表現がないから、まずはどの気持ちで言ってるかを分かってから翻訳しないと、なんかものすごく微妙な、なんか分かりにくい表現になってしまいます。
よろしくお願いします。
何をよろしくされるんだろうとか、その
なんか私にちょっと親切にお願いしますけど、私からもなんかちゃんとやりますからみたいな。
で頼みますからっていう意味で言ってるのかなであったり、like are we asking somebody to do something for us, or is it just a greeting, like これからもよろしくお願いしますっていうその今後の
よろしくお願いします you say when you introduce
it's more
yourself.
like an anticipation of well what is to happen, like I leave it in your hands, but what are we leaving in our hands, like etc etc.
So you really have to understand like the context within which the expression can be used, like often the many contexts, and also the feeling behind it in this particular context.
なのでその文脈をたどるときに結構いろいろなそのもちろん周りのそのコンテキストを拾いながらどういった意図で言われているのか、あとはそのどういった感情が乗っているのかっていうのがわからないとうまくその英語のワードチョイスっていうのができないっていうところはあります。英語で。Oh, I'm sorry. And so, oh no, that's what Keita さんが言ってたことを訳しただけ。
訳しました。So like in this case, like if we had said like they have kakegai no nai mono, and sure the most literal translation of that is an irreplaceable thing. But if we'd had Louis Soir say like, I need you to go out and find an irreplaceable thing, you wouldn't understand that what he meant is I need you to find something that is so deeply personal to you that it is your meaning for continuing to grow, right? So that's why the sort of context framing is so important.
なので、
そのpeople would have got that. They translated it literally.
自分のかけがえのないものを探しに行きなさいっていうふうに、彼にとってはそのもう孫たちにちゃんと自分の大事なものを探してこいっていうふうに日本語では伝わるんですけれども、英語で例えばそのフラットに取り替えられないものっていうのが大体一番直訳するとそういった感情も何もなくなっちゃう英語になっちゃうので。探しに行きなさいって言われてもなんだろう、何か物を探しに行くのかしらみたいな印象を与えかねない。
日本語は確かにこう結構よろしくお願いしますもよく使うけどなんとなくニュアンスでね、ああはいわかりました、じゃあよろしくお願いしますみたいな返し方するけど主語ないもんね、何にもね。
待ってみんな。
That's true because
英語と日本語が混じりすぎてる。
Oh, that's okay. ごめんなさい、I'm confusing Ishikawa-san. I'm jumping in English and Japanese. But going back to that whole よろしくお願いします dialogue, it's just, come to think of it, yeah, the Japanese people are so used to using it almost like a greeting, like, okay, I leave it in your hands, okay, thank you, same to you. And so there's not really any sort of question behind it, but then if you look at it closely, subject is omitted, so you don't know whom you're talking to or what you're asking for.
It's a lot of Japanese, though. They don't always. It doesn't always have a subject clearly defined when you're talking to people.
Yoshida-san is still curious about what example Aimi comes up with.
He wants to know what exactly he should stop saying to not annoy her.
違う。そんなことないです。徳武は通訳しか脳がないので、これをどう言い換えようっていうのをむしろチャレンジに思ってるバカなので。なのでもう何でも投げてください。こっちで頑張って英語でなんとか伝わるだろうと思いながら考えます。
It's fine. Like we enjoy the challenge of doing this, so they don't need to change what they're doing. We'll just do our thing.
僕は優しさに助けられてるっていうことでした。はい。
Yoshi says, "Oh, I've been saved by their kindness. They've been helping me all along."
はい、ということでまたもや脇道にそれてしまいましたが、そんな感じのローカライズ側の努力のあって、全世界に皆さんに同じものを届けられるように努力しています。
So now that we've taken that long cul-de-sac, I hope you can understand a little bit of the effort that goes into making these understandable for all of our audiences.
And it's not just English, it's all the languages, right?
とはいえ、ローカライズチームだけに頑張らせるわけにはいきません。
However, I can't just let the localization team have all the fun and trying to be clever.
ということで別の工
Good,
夫を
because
した
there are
ところ
things
もあ
you
り
care
ま
about,
す。
people you love, and
So
none
I
of
do
them is
use a
irreplaceable.
variety of strategies to enhance our narrative.
こちらは双子とフルシュナが和解するシーンなのですが、
So this is the scene with the twins and Fortuno.
こちらも日本語ではかけがえのないものを重ねることで大迷宮からバハムートから続くルビー・ルーケルの一連の物語であるようにしています。
And so I am bringing this full circle in Japanese by using the same phrase from the coil and from Alise's earlier monologue, kakegai no nai mono.
同時に演技付けの参考としてこんな注釈を入れていました。
But also, I left this annotation about the animation.
大迷宮バハムードのこのシーンのポーズと
If you look at this pose from Binding Coil,
フルシュノが双子にとった動きが本人たちは意図してないけど同じになる。
you can see that Fortuno is doing the exact same thing as his father did in this scene.
ちょっと待てよ、戻して。
Let us look at it again. There we go.
カメラ位置はね、逆なんだけど。
The positioning of the camera is like where it's shooting from.
Okay, I didn't pick up on that, but that's fantastic. I love that.
I mean, it's not like you can't tell what's happening though, right?
まあこれならね、言語によらずどんな言語であっても2つのシーンにうっすらとつながりが感じられるといった次第です。
And so when you have this kind of visual parallel, it doesn't matter what language you're speaking, you can understand that there's a connection.
こうやって並べてみると、そんなに大きく変わったわけではないんですけど、アルフィノとアリゼ大きくなったなっていう気がしますね。
When you see them like this, like physically, of course, Alfino and Alice haven't gotten a lot taller, but you sure feel like they've grown.
Yeah, maybe we should have them actually age.
まあ、たびたびちょっとインタビューでも
Everyone is perpetually the same age and having traumatic events happen in a single year. Maybe we should, age them up.
プレイヤーの
Yeah,
皆さん
yeah.
光の戦士なんですけど NPC 側の主人公としてこの2人をずっと回しかけ10年描いてきてるので、まあ、思い入れはめちゃくちゃ強いですよね。
For sure. And I've mentioned this in various interviews, but of course, the main character, the protagonist, the true protagonist, is the player or our Warrior of Light in Final Fantasy XIV. But on the NPC side, I mean, we've been following these twins, the Livier twins, for almost over 10 years at this point.
俺もう50歳だからさ、この2つの絵見てるだけでもう泣きそうだもんだって。
I mean, maybe it's because I'm growing older. I'm 50 years old right now, but just looking at these scenes almost makes me want to cry.
これはでも俺チェックしてて気づいたよすぐ。
But there was one thing that I did notice when I was checking this.
バレちゃった。
こんなところから始まったよね。
覚えてます皆さんこの最初のキャリッジにいた2人。
Do you remember this way back at the beginning in the carriage?
まだ注目されて
Oh
ないから
wow,
ね。
it's been so
本当に
Yeah,
long.
those two weren't even highlighted back then.
でまあアルフィノ君がね
そしてこれだもん。
クリスタルブレイブした後に
And then Alphino went real crazy with the Crystal Braves.
こちらのざまですよ。
そうね。
And then he got super depressed.
まあ、この挫折があったからこそ
Poor Alphino.
アルフィノ君はここから非常にいい男に成長していくんじゃないかなと思います。
But because he's been through so much, I think he's going to grow into a really good man.
これちなみにこのさっきの1個スクリーン前って戻ります？そう。
あ、戻してみる？
これタタルさん黒幕説この頃ありましたよね。
あったあった。
Oh, there was this part with Tataru here.
Yeah, there were some rumors about her being the actual like mastermind behind everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Come
あ
on, make it
結構多かったんです
happen.
よ。あれ絶対黒幕タタルだろうって。
Yeah, there were people who were speculating in Japan too, like she's actually the mastermind and the villain all along, kind of.
今でもワンチャンあるもんな。だっ
That
て
would be
I mean,
absolutely
we might
hilarious.
still have a chance. I don't know.
暁が解散しあの倉庫を手に入れたタタルさんはこれから世界の支配者になっていきます。
I would like it if Tataru would rule the world.
It would be a great twist. A great twist, guys.
いや
Let's do
やっ
it.
ぱりその今回、まあ、ファイナルファンタジーって、まあ、大体がこうキャラクターがいてそのキャラクターの物語をこう疑似体験するみたいなものが多い中で 40MMO でもあるからこうプレイヤーの皆さん自身が、主人公なのでどうしても皆さんのキャラクターを勝手に成長させたりこう勝手にこう挫折させたりは難しいので本当にまあそれでもね石ガルドに追い落とされたりとかはやってるんですけど、まあ、その代わりといってはなんですけどやっぱりこう
さっきでしょ。
This was my favorite photo from the expansion. It's so
Sorry, we
good.
didn't realize why did the
PowerPoint
アニメーション
shenanigans.
止めた動かしたからじゃないか
Oh, is it
オ
because
ートスライドになってたんで
Oh no, we might have put it onto auto or something like that. Sorry about that.
であれ訳してもらったっけ、
はい、まだです。So with Final Fantasy, we have like a character that takes you through the narrative of each of the different series title, and you oh gosh, how is it doing that? Sorry. In Final Fantasy.
あったあったいいよそのまま続けて
Okay, so with you have like an established character in a
Technical
Final Fantasy title, but with
difficulties.
Final Fantasy XIV, because we are an MMO, the player is what we had decided is the main character of this narrative, and so we can't let the Warrior of Light grow without the player kind of experiencing that sort of development. We can't have any sort of random disappointment. That doesn't make sense. So except for Heaven's Word, we were kind of chased out of Ul'dah and had to escape to Ishgard, of course. And then
まあ、だからこそこう NPC 側のというか物語側の成長要素っていうのはこの2人でかなり強く描いてきたので、まあ僕からするともうなんかちょっと息子と娘感がちょっと古篠の立場感があるんで。
And so that's why we kind of used the NPCs as our sort of vehicle to carry on that sort of development and the character arc and kind of drove that narrative in that way. So with Alphino and Alize, they feel like son and daughter. I know we have Fortuno as their dad, but it almost feels like I am watching these kids grow up.
アリゼのセリフを最も書いてきたのって多分なっちゃうんだよね。
I think Natchan, you're probably the person who's written the most lines of dialogue for Alize, right?
そうですね。
Oh,
ハマードの
really?
時代からなので多いと思いますよ。
Yeah, from a while back, I started writing a lot of those.
だってそもそもレルムリボーンだとアリゼほぼバハムートでしか出てこないもんね。
That's true. Throughout A Realm Reborn, she kind of goes off and does her own thing, but she does appear in Binding Coil of Bahamut.
なんか思い出あり
Oh
ます
yeah, I was
アリゼ
surprised at how
こ
long it took for
こ
Alice
す
to
ごい
pop up
困
in
っ
the
たなでもい
story.
い
I
し
was like,
こ
what
こ
do you
めっち
mean
ゃ
she's not a
感
main
情移入した
character
な
in
っ
the
ていう
very
のは
beginning?
Can you remember any anecdotes, like stuff that you felt was a challenge, or like really memorable scenes of Alize?
困ることはないかな。割とアリゼもいつでもアリゼでいてくれるので、なんかあんまり迷った、何を言わせるか迷ったみたいな印象はないです。
Honestly, I find Alize a very straightforward character to write, so I never really felt like I was deeply troubled having to write any of her lines or anything.
アルフィノってすごい分かりやすく言葉にしていろんなことを知りたがるんですけれども、暁に合流した後のアリゼもかなり積極的に世界とか周りのことを知ろうっていう意思があるんですね。
I mean, Alfino, as we know, is quick to explain exactly what he's thinking. But Alize as well, since the point where she joined the Scion, she's been quite assertive about doing what she feels is right.
だから何かが起きた時にどうしたのとかどうしてるのどうしてこうなったのとかあなたはどうしたいのっていうのを実はアリゼはすごく問いかけてくれるキャラクターだったりします。
So really, like this, Alize is an easy character to ask, like, what do you want to do? And she will give you an answer.
でそれを聞いてその上で私はこう思うからこうするわっていうことを言えるキャラクターである。
And when she hears opinions from others, she's very quick to say, like, okay, I've processed this, and now I've decided what I'm going to do.
なんかアリゼの成長ってアルフィのほどは分かりやすくないんですけど、やっぱり最初のおじいさんのことを聞いたら思い込みで突っ走って怒っていたっていう頃から比べると、そういうところがすごく素敵な女性になったなって思います。
Alice's character development might be a little bit harder to identify than Alfino's, but in her case, I think compared to the original when she was only listening to her grandfather's words, as compared to now when she's taken in so much and come to her own conclusions, I think you can really see that she's grown into a young woman here.
まあ確かにアリゼは逆にその大迷宮バハムートのシナリオに入るまではもうなんかずっとイライラしっぱなしだもんね。
For sure, yeah. Before we go into the story that's depicted throughout the Binding Coil of Bahamut, she was always kind of irritated.
だからアルフィノがクリスタルブレイブってやってからこうなったように、アリゼにとっては大迷宮バハムートでの真相がその成長させる多分最大のきっかけだったんだよねあれ。
And so we had Alphino and his experience with trying to put together the Crystal Brave, and then that scene happened.
That failed
I think
epically.
in a similar way, Alize's arc in Coil kind of shows, and after finding out the truth, once we get to the deepest Coil, and I think that was the catalyst of her kind of character growth.
The saddest part is that her character growth is in side content. Like, you don't have to do Coil to continue the main story. So a lot of people can miss it like pretty easily.
まだ遊んでない方、大迷宮バハムート遊んでみてください。
Yeah, I think maybe a lot of our new folks don't have opportunities to play our older raids as much. But if you at all can, I do recommend that you check out Coil because it is so important to these characters and the story.
There's a lot of important shit in Coil that's in side content and that people don't run. It's not in the raid roulette, but people go in Party Finder and Unsync it all the
Okay,
time.
but it is like the first raid we made, so the cutscenes come in at really weird times sometimes.
They do. They do. They're also very long.
ここに入れるかって言って入れちゃったので、攻略の邪魔になっていたら本当にごめんなさい。
Sorry about that. Like the team of today wouldn't do that, but back then we were just sort of like, yeah, adding it here might be nice, and then it was like a huge impediment to your progress. So sorry about that.
Whoopsie
あれ
daisy.
ノーマルもハードもないからさ。
Oh, and plus we don't have the normal versus extreme or savage mode either.
正直ね綺麗に作り直したいぐらいだよねあれね。
Well, we
I
had
would love to kind of
Savage
revisit it and
Return
remake it if at all possible.
やりましょうか。
Oh,
大
we
迷
should.
宮バハムート回収。
Binding Coil of
Ooh.
Bahamut returns.
A hard mode and a savage mode for all of it would be good.
But the mechanics of the boss fights, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
ってヘビにス
They're
ライム
fucking
食べ
weird,
させる
like
のに
rot.
車同士で俺コラプスって走ってたもんだって
I mean, you were trying to feed the slimes to the snake, and then I was playing as a black mage, and I was shooting at it and trying to get it to work. And
あとあれですよミノタウルス連れて歩くのにブリザード打って足遅くしてそしたら他のプレイヤーの人に黒魔導士さん召喚使えないんですかって言われたし
And then there's a part where we have to kind of take the Minotaur and kind of bring them. And so I was trying to cast Blizzard, and then another player came in, chimed in, and said, "Can you be a summoner, please? Can you not summon, please? Can you not summon?"
いやいろいろありましたね
ありましたね。
So much has happened. Ooh, it's
ま
been a
あ
while.
そろそろコーナー終盤ですけどまあなんかそれこそ申請からこう行月まで振り返ってまあアルフィのアリゼだけじゃなくてなんかここ思い出に残ってるなとか今せっかくだから振り返っておきたいなとかストーリーで面白いエピソードあったよとかありますか
So just wanted to kind of reflect once more because we are kind of nearing the end of the panel. Was there any other sort of memories that you had, something that you wanted to talk about regarding the story up to this point?
皆さんにちょっと断っておきたいんですけど、私たちのこのパネル、他のリハーサルが押して一切リハーサルしてないので、この質問今初。
Just so you know, we didn't actually have time to rehearse this panel in full, so this is the first time I'm hearing this question.
だってあとまだ20分あるんだも
I
ん
mean, we still have 20 minutes left.
広すぎて難しいですね、その質
Oh
問。
no, they're ending
That's
early.
like a really difficult question, actually.
だけどやっぱり今一番何かその印象深いというか、もし直せるなら直したいと思っているのがマージでバハムートのカットシーンの位置。
Really, though, the Bahamut haunts me, and I'd really like to redo those cutscenes.
まあ確かにね我々の作り方も慣れてなかったしスケジュールもめちゃくちゃだったし
Yeah, we were still very inexperienced
my
at that point, and I mean our
goodness.
schedules were also kind of all over the place too.
そうなんだよなカットシーンもまだまだこうテクニックがね発達してないから苦労の連続だったんだよね
Yeah, and we were still unexperienced with the different techniques that we could apply to give these cutscenes like a cinematic presentation. So yeah, it was quite a challenge to get through that.
でもそのね、やっぱりそのカットシーンとかの面もそうなんです
You
け
could
ど、
redo the cutscenes
申
first.
請の頃ってやっぱり MMO にストーリーって必要なのかっていうのがスタッフの中にもやっぱり気持ちとしてありました。
I mean, so learning how to make cutscenes is one thing, but to be honest, back in the A Realm Reborn days, you know, that was the period of MMOs where it still wasn't clear like whether it was okay for MMOs to have stories or if that was something we should be focused on. And that was a discussion within the development team as well.
Oh, I'm so happy they went with
その時
focusing on
吉田さんが
story. That's
チ
the
ーム
best
に
part
打ち
of
出した
this
方針と
game.
してこれは
The story first
ファイナ
and
ルファ
MMO
ンタジーなん
second.
だから世界だけは救ってもらおうっていうのを最初に打ち出した。
It was actually Yoshi P who came and said, look, it's a Final Fantasy game. We at least need to save the world.
And thank God he did. Thank God
だ
he
から
did.
私はスタッフの一人としてその言葉を道しるべにして何度でも世界、まあ、時にはその一つの国だったり地域だったり、まあ、本当に世界だったり星だったりもしましたけどを毎度毎度救ってきました。
So I guess those words have kind of been my guiding star. And so I've had us save nations and the whole world and the whole universe.
Now where do
そ
we
れ
go
を
from there?
そう今こうやって皆さんが声を上げてくださっているように
Summer vacation,
皆
that's
さん
where
が
we
面白かったよ
go.
って返してくれた
Island
からスタッ
vacation.
フの中にもあこれでいいんだストーリーあっていいんだっていう自信が持てたんだと思います。
And I also think that because we had such reactions, like just like you guys today with your cheering, but because we had such positive reactions from the fans about the story, that really gave us confidence that, oh, okay, it is okay to focus on the story.
The story is the most important thing in Final Fantasy. You gotta make sure it's good, guys.
まあでも
Gotta
確かに
do it.
当時はまだ9番があって ARR リリースする前だから本当にこうね MMO に詳しければ詳しいほどこのストーリーだって言ってる部分がプレイヤーのむしろ邪魔をしちゃうんじゃないかっていうこう疑心暗鬼にやっぱりなっちゃう詳しければ詳しいほどなる人もやっぱりいなかったわけじゃないのででもそここそがこう14がユニークでそのもっともっとたくさんの人に MMO を遊んでもらうこう鍵になるからもうそういうところこそこだわるんだっていう話をしてまあそれをね本当みんなで叶えてきてくれたかなと思います。
For sure, yeah. At the time, we still had the original Final Fantasy 1.0, and then we were right before ARR. So when we listen to some of our development team members, and especially those who are more well versed in MMOs at the time, would mention about, hey, I don't know if it's a good idea to have a story because it might actually hinder the player's progression in the game. But thankfully, we pushed through with that sort of story-driven concept, and I think that's how we were able to make our title so unique. It allowed for us to open it up so that more people can come in, and it was really key for them to kind of enjoy it. So we were really particular about trying to get that down. So I feel like the team really came together, and we were able to make that a reality.
Yeah, no other MMO really has as good of a story. I've played a bunch. Star Wars is close. I haven't played a lot, but what I played was really good. And Guild Wars 2 has a really good story. But most other MMOs really kind of have a shit story, if I'm just being honest. So, I like stories, so Final Fantasy 14 is great.
自分たちが書いてきたってこと以上に書いてきたことに対してリアクションをしてきてくれたからだと思っています。
So yeah, I mean, if there is just one thing I want to say while I have the mic today, it's that I really, really appreciate all of you because it was only because you were reacting to it that we were able to continue writing this story.
Yay!
So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for writing the wonderful story. We love it. We love it.
まあ14はねずっと言ってきてますけど皆さんと一緒に作っていくファイナルファンタジーなのでぜひねこれからもよろしくお願いします。アンエンディングジャーニーなんではい。
And as I've mentioned many times before, and I still stand by it, Final Fantasy XIV is something that we build together, and so I would love to continue to work with you and to continue with this game. As he mentioned, unending journey this story is. So.
はい、ということでなんかまるで終わってしまったかのような感じですけれども、今回のパネルもそろそろ締めていきたいと思います。
All right, and with that, I'd like to bring this panel to a close.
The picture that we saw earlier. This is my favorite picture from Endwalker.
でね、今回ご紹介したところ以外にも、行月にはいろんなデュナミスのように目に見えない要素が隠されています。
So as you can tell from this, there's a lot of things in Endwalker that you cannot see, much like Dynamis.
いつかまたね、物語に触れることがあれば、そういうのを探していただくのもいいかもしれません。
So next time you take a look at the story, maybe consider the things that aren't immediately apparent and see what connections and interesting points you can find.
ただ、現実でだって真実とか真意っていうのはなかなかつかめないものです。
But even in our real world, perhaps there's never just one truth.
どんな意図で書かれているかではなくて、皆さんが見て、聞いて、感じて、考えたものがエンドウォーカーです。
Rather than just something I wrote to be the way that I wanted, Endwalker is truly what you all see, hear, feel, and think.
そして一つの物語が終わったからには新しい物語が始まっていきます。
And now, since we've reached the end of Endwalker, I would like to mention we are starting a new story.
今ね。
The new world.
今 日本語で言うと新世代かな、新世代が中心になって一生懸命このトラル大陸での旅を制作しています。
And it is actually my colleagues, the new generation of writers that will be writing this story in Tyrol.
さて、まあ僕も見てはいますけど、よりね、監修役として、めちゃめちゃ見ているチェックをし、そんななっちゃんから見ていかがですか、7.0。
Yes, and of course, as producer director, I do look at the content and make sure and check. But I think Natchan has a more direct role in kind of supervising how the writing is done. So, Natchan, can you give us your thoughts on the progress so far?
まさしく新しい冒険って感じで大変だけど楽しいです。
It really does feel like a brand new adventure to me. There are certainly a lot of trials and tribulations, but it is exciting.
みんなの準備を整えて地図渡してさあ行ってきなさいって言うと背中を押すとあっちでドカーンこっちでドカーンわーキャーってすごい惨状。
It's sort of like I've given them a map and been like, go, and then they're running around like, oh hey, oh hey.
で、しょうがないわーってなって見かねて手を貸したら誘導するんですけれども、
and of course, I will absolutely lend them a hand and reach out to give them help where I can.
それを繰り返してるうちにね、なるほど、分かってきましたって言って力強く走り出す瞬間が出てくるんですね。
And through the process of doing that, with that exchange between us, we do eventually arrive at a point where everyone's like, oh, I know what to do, and they run straight for the end line.
それがね、すごく頼もしいし、14の次の10年も楽しくなるだろうなって思っています。
It's really great that we have this experience together, and I do think it bodes well for the next 10 years of Final Fantasy XIV.
Yay! Another 10 years! Another 10 years!
ね、そんな気持ちを多分本人たちが自分で言うのはちょっと照れるだろうから、浩二さんと一緒に今日公開されたトレーラーのですね、主題歌に歌詞として込めてみました。
It's probably a little bit embarrassing for them to like talk about it themselves, but you know the reaction from the trailer and everything. Yeah, they'll be happy to see that.
ということでね、ソケンさんが周りに答えを求めながら頑張って作ったトレーラーの曲を聴きながら次の情報公開や発売を楽しみにお待ちいただければと思います。
Also, you might want to note that from the trailer, I worked on that with Koji, and I am really looking forward to this new journey with all of you.
まあ本当にね、僕自身も今回、ガラッとね、夏休みって言ってるからですけど、いろんな新しいことやってるんで楽しいです。
Yeah, I also wanted to touch upon this, as you can see, is quite a departure from what we've been doing and this whole theme of summer vacation. And it's just, we've been doing a lot of new things on our end.
なのでしっかり作っていきますんで、ぜひね、
Ocean
次なる
looks
新
so
しい
pretty.
冒険も楽しみ
I
に
hope we
お待
get
ち
to
くださ
swim
い。
in it.
And so we will continue to work hard to continue production. And so I hope you look forward to it.
よし、じゃあクローズするので、長かったけどご挨拶を一人ずつ、
Okay.
ケイツさんからまずお願いします。
So let's, we will be closing out the panel. So before we do that, let's go ahead and have each person go through and provide some final thoughts. Kate, can you go first, please?
Yes, hello. Well, I enjoyed being up here, and I really enjoyed all of your reactions. I appreciate your patience as I sort of pause to remember what words are several times. So thank you all. I really hope you enjoyed it. And also just a big thanks to Ishikawa-san for always writing those annotations. Really, we would be in a much worse spot if she didn't do that. So, いつもメモとか解釈とかいろいろ伝えてくださってありがとうございます。ロカイズとして助かります。
じゃああゆみさんも 一言お願いします。
Hi. So thank you guys for listening in. I'm afraid I didn't remember all of the Japanese versus the English dialogue in some parts, so apologies if it kind of didn't make sense at certain points. But yeah, it's very interesting to see Natchan and Keito-san being very collaborative in their work, and just how much effort goes into creating the narrative so that it's understandable to any in any language. So yeah, thank you again for having me here.
ありがとうございます。ではなっちゃんお願いします。
はーい。まずは長時間にわたりありがとうございました。
So thank you for staying with us for this whole long time.
マジでね、みんな 7.0 の情報を知りたい時期だっていうのに、こんな振り返りでね、しかも文字いっぱいでね、なんか申し訳ないんじゃないかなってちょっと思ってたんですけれども。
I was a little worried because I thought, this is when everyone wants to hear about 7.0, and instead I'm going to talk about 6.0, and I'm also just going to slap a lot of words everywhere.
みんなのそういう温かい反応でどうにか最後まで話し切ることができました。
But because you were all so kind, I really felt encouraged and able to continue all the way to the end of this presentation.
Thank you!
はい、では長時間となりましたが、開発パネル本当に長時間ありがとうございました。
Okay, so thank you so much for your patience during this long development panel. Thank you. This concludes the show, or the panel.
Unless Matt's coming out here.
Unless Matt's, oh, hey.
Yeah.
Matt's coming out here.
Yay.
Matt's here. One more round of applause for our panelists, please.
さて、じゃあ下がりましょう。
はい。ないでしょ。
All right. Oh. Alrighty, we will be back here on the stage at 5 p.m. for our Glamour to Life cosplay walk, so make sure you're here for that. We have some amazing cosplays in store, and I know you all will love to see all the amazing work and talent that's on display. So we'll see you here in about an hour, all right? Take care, everybody.
Okay, guys, that's the end of that. And I'm not sure if I'm going to watch the Glamour one or not, but we'll see. And that's the end of this video. Okay, bye-bye.